Bremerton Foodline bridges the gap for our neighbors facing tough life challenges, compounded by food insecurity and the rising cost of living. Welcome to Bremerton Foodline.
I found out about the Bremerton Foodline and started using it as a resource about 10 years ago. I had a vision diagnosis where I am losing my vision, and so I'm not able to work like I used to and have a regular paycheck. And so it has been essential and very beneficial to kind of offset what I used to make income-wise.
United States Marine Corps, 21 years, Gulf War. Had a piece of shrapnel go through my foot. Still remained active duty. Then I came back and to the civilian world and fell off a roof. And so that's what damaged it again. So I've had 13 operations on my right foot. Just had one last Friday.
It's often said that people are one paycheck away from food insecurity. And even though everything's fine now, you never know what might tip you over the edge. So when that happens, it's really comforting to know that there is a resource that's completely not judgmental and is open and welcoming to everybody.
Our family became acquainted with the food bank, not because we're on the street or anything. Our daughter worked here as a volunteer and part of our continuing education system as a special needs person. Because of that, we kind of fell in love with them. And then we found out that we qualified because of our circumstances.
I started coming to Bremerton Foodline because my SNAP benefits are not adequate for a month, and it makes a big difference to have this extra.
Whenever I'm budgeting for my household needs, a lot of the money has to go to things that I can't find elsewhere, like paper goods and toiletries. At the end of the day, there's just not enough left for all the food needs that I have. Not enough for the vegetables and things that I need for my diet. So this really fills in the gap.
I have a son and 2 grandkids that actually live with me. Very proud of them. With a Social Security disability, I can spend X amount of dollars, and so I spend what I can, but then sometimes you need a little help in between.
I pay attention to the news, and one of the things that has really shocked me is that they're saying that 14% of people's credit card costs right now are for food. The food bank is our bank for food because it's getting higher and higher to go to the grocery store.
I'm also gluten-free, and that's a luxury that most of the time a regular human can barely afford. So the gluten-free has been kind of a stellar bonus.
What I really like about the Bremerton Foodline is that there's always fresh produce here, which I can't find anywhere else, especially not for free.
It's great that the food bank is really a blessing to us, and we're able to eat more nutritiously because of it.
Everyone is so very warm and helpful and inviting and comforting.
And I say you can't raise your kids without a community. What the community does for me, I try to give back. I volunteer at Salvation Army, so that's my way of giving back for what these people give me.
I originated from Mississippi. I worked out here for over 30 years. Now I'm at the food bank helping everyone who helped me when I first came out here. So I really thank the food bank for being here, not only for me, but for everyone who doesn't have a job.
We love the people here, we love what they're doing for our community, and in particular, we love what they've done for our family. We've been able to reach out to others too, because of what the food bank has done for us.
I've been through a lot recently, and they've been my rock at Bremerton Foodline.
My name is John Wayne Scott, and I currently serve as the primary driver and facility manager for the Bremerton Foodline. My journey at BFL started about a year ago when a very different individual than the one that stands before you today walked in through the doors of a very different organization than the one that exists today. I couldn't be more proud of who we are becoming as an organization and the change that has taken place over the past year. But in order to tell you how we've collectively changed, I first need to tell you a little bit about how Bremerton Foodline has personally changed me. Again, it's truly an honor to be speaking to such established and distinguished members of our community. I'll be honest, I don't exactly feel worthy of your attention or time at the moment. Got a little bit of imposter syndrome going on, if you will. You see, for years, I spent my time begging for your attention, your help, and your money as I held my cardboard sign on the side of the freeway. For far too long, I allowed a lifestyle fueled by addiction to push me far away from the love of my family, friends, and community. The only purpose I found in life was merely surviving day by day, minute by minute, hoping to use enough drugs to drown out the demons that had taken such a grip of my mind and my soul. My entire life used to fit in a backpack or a shopping cart, and I would shuffle around town in search of ways to find means to numb the constant state of cold, hunger, shame, and isolation that I had become so accustomed to. The only prolonged reprieves from my desperate state would come in the form of incarceration or some form of treatment center. After one of these extended stays at Port Orchard's worst hotel, also known as Kitsap County Jail, I had all the desire in the world to redirect my life, but had no idea which direction to go. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Where was I supposed to go? And who on earth was going to accept me? One thing I knew for sure, I certainly didn't want to go back to that place that I had come from. I'm grateful for a fortuitous encounter with an old friend who pointed me in the direction of Bremerton Foodline. The very next day, I applied to be a warehouse assistant. Now, I'm not exactly known for making the best decisions in life. Every once in a while, I make a good one. This was a great one. I walked in the doors at 1600 12th Street one cold morning in the spring of last year, hoping to at least walk out with some food, or at best, walk out with a job. Solely hoping to find some resources and a productive way to fill my time. But my goodness, what I found was so much more than I could have ever imagined. I truly found a family. In fact, the very first words I heard when I walked in that morning came out of Morgan's mouth when she came up and gave me a big hug and told me how much I reminded her of her brother, a brother who sadly passed on. But true to her words, this woman in particular has not just valued and empowered me as an employee, but she's loved me like her very own. Little did I know that the beauty in all this was that this was just the beginning and that this was just the culture at Bremerton Foodline. I walked out of Morgan's office that morning employed, but my cabinets and belly were still bare. I made my way to the current and temporary storefront where the love of this place would continue to pour into me. As I made my way around the store grabbing all sorts of supplies, I heard the most angelic voice ask me if I had any needs in particular. I looked up at, or rather looked down at, the sweetest soul that we all affectionately call Miss Troy today. Miss Troy had no idea who I was, but she made such a concerted effort to make sure I had access to every item and every resource that she had to offer. Not knowing me from Adam, she paid no mind. As she proceeded to go through the entire store with me, pointing out things I might have missed and making suggestions along the way. I mean, seriously, could anybody really be this kind after almost a decade of volunteering? Yeah, she could be. Yes, she is. And now I can honestly say that, yes, we are. See, if I had to use one word to summarize what we do at Bremerton Foodline, it would be love. The love I was shown on my very first day will stick with me forever, but that love continues to radiate to every client who walks through our doors. See, I truly believe that my purpose in this life is to love God and to love people. And at Bremerton Foodline, my purpose and job become one and the same. I get to serve that purpose with the help of Corey, Morgan, Brandy, Ash, my best friend, Big Pat, an incredible team of volunteers, and our faithful board. As a staff, we've gone through a multitude of changes this past year, but the love for our clients and our community remains the same. Whether it was switching to a self-service shopping center, expanding our shopping opportunities from once a month to once a week, constructing a new shopping area, and creating a more dignified shopping space for clients, or bravely welcoming staffing changes, every single one of these adjustments has been made to better serve the needs of our clients and our fellow community members. When it comes to change, I could speak indefinitely about how BFL has changed me for the better. I could go on ad infinitum for the changes that we're making to become a more efficient, effective, and gracious organization. However, I do want to briefly speak about one change that I wasn't terribly happy about. When Corey Kauk was hired as our new executive director, I'm not going to lie, wasn't thrilled about it, Corey, sorry. See, I'd formed such a close relationship with our interim director, Morgan, that the thought of someone else taking her place wouldn't have been my decision. Well, thank God that I don't make the decisions around here. Corey coming back to her hometown to take the reins and create a powerhouse partnership with Morgan has been such a blessing in my life. And whether Bremerton knows it or not, she has been and will be one of the biggest blessings this community has seen in some time. It was hard for me to hold on to my disagreement for long because within minutes of meeting her, it's impossible for anybody to question her ability to positively impact and empower those around her. I know I speak for myself personally, BFL as a whole, and this area as a whole when I say we are so fortunate to have you here with us. On my behalf, I want to thank you all for not giving up on me. I came here physically hungry, spiritually bankrupt, and emotionally empty. Today, I stand before you more emotionally and spiritually filled than I ever have been. And I promise you, I don't go hungry anymore either. I have a new hunger today, though. A hunger to help those still struggling. Whether they are housed or homeless, employed or unapproachable, they're among us. This community needs our help in the same way that I so desperately needed it myself. I'm beyond grateful to have the opportunity to give back what was so freely given to me and help those with hunger in their belly and hurt in their heart. We're striving every day to bridge the gap that still exists in our society, but we need your help to do it. So now, with love, I'd like to introduce our Executive Director, Ms. Corey Kauk.
This guy, could he be any more amazing? Good job, John. Whew, that's a tough act to follow, I'm not gonna lie. And I also need my glasses. John, thank you for getting us started this morning. He always has such an amazing way with words, and we could not be more grateful to have the opportunity to work with him on this mission to feed people. So as John said, and later you'll hear Morgan share a little bit more in a video, that people come to the food bank for a variety of reasons. People come to the food bank because of job loss, underemployment, domestic violence, maybe a new addition in the household, just even general living expenses, right? We've got rents going up, the cost of food, gas, taxes, all those things. And sadly, a lot of our most vulnerable community members are being priced and squeezed out of their homes here in Kitsap County. Now that John helped us kind of tapped into those emotional endorphins, I'm going to talk a little bit about data. Hold on. So the data I'm going to share today is really focused on Bremerton. The Bremerton Foodline serves all of Kitsap County, Mason County, and really anybody who walks through our door will get service in our organization. But to keep it simple, we're focused on Bremerton. Bremerton in 2023 had a population of 48,086 individuals. And we're working with the Kitsap County Health District. I knew I was going to say that wrong. Health District, and using their data and assessing what the needs might be in our community and where there might be some gaps and what role Bremerton Foodline might play with that. So in 2023, 32% of our population were living 200% below the poverty line. Just let that sink in for a second. That means that about 15,500 people were getting by on an annual income of, for an individual, less than $30,000 a year, or for a family of four, $62,000 a year. So I don't know about you, but I can tell you for sure that I go to the grocery store at least once, maybe twice a week, and I don't go to the grocery store without spending $75 to $150 a week. Can you go like, yep, that's normal. So even though poverty line is just one indicator for food insecurity, at the Bremerton Foodline, we serve people who have no income. We serve people who are living on or below the poverty line, but we're also serving families that have 2 or more incomes and are just not able to make ends meet at the end of the month. So what does this tell us? This tells me that we have thousands of children in our community who aren't getting enough nutritious meals. We have thousands of individual adults going to work hungry because they skip meals. We have hundreds of senior citizens who are living with very lean or empty shelves. And it means that we have households who are making really tough choices between paying rent or buying food. So John kind of talked about the big changes happening at Bremerton Foodline, and I just want to expand on that. So with big change, you all know, comes great opportunities. And so we're learning a lot of things. What we've learned, some really important things. Number one, we learned that when we expanded our operations and services from serving families once a month to once a week, we needed to quadruple the amount of food that was coming into our building. We're working on that. That's why you're here today. We went from about 300 shopping services per month to 1,500. That's a lot of extra food coming in and out of our building. We also learned that we need to increase our community engagements. We want to know you. We want to know our supporters. We need more volunteers in the building. We're looking to expand our board and the skill set on our board. And we want every community member to think of the Bremerton Foodline when they hear about a need in the community. We're here as a resource. And then lastly, we need to be more strategic. We need to be more strategic with our programming. We need to work on our partnerships, our financial plans, our organizational development. And so to do that, we started asking ourselves some really hard questions like, who is not getting food that needs it? Why are they not getting food? Where are they? What are our partners doing to fill the gaps? And what should Bremerton Foodline be doing today? And where are we heading in the future? You know, just those little questions. So this brings me to where we are today. Our vision is to make sure that every individual and household in our community that has food insecurity knows where to go and that they get their needs met. And so that seems it's an easy statement. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I plan to help support us to get there. So we're going to dig into those assessments. We're going to start asking our clients through surveys, what do they need? What do they want? Who do they know who should be coming to the food bank? We're going to work with the health district on a client service mapping project to really assess what our community looks like. And we're hoping to engage our partner food banks in that process too. All right, we know we need to collaborate and partner a lot more. I feel like we've been a little bit isolated, but we're getting out there. Bremerton Foodline is just one solution to solving food insecurity in our community. It takes all of us. So our vision is to deeply engage with our community partners, with the city, just anyone who has a passion for this work to do this a little bit better and more strategically. We have a vision of starting a nourishing network that includes cross-sector organizations, nonprofits, businesses, community members who care about the cause to come together, talk about what the challenges and the needs are, and see where we can find offerings and collaborations to solve some really big issues in our community. And lastly, in true Corey fashion, now, Bremerton Foodline fashion, we're going to take action. We're going to get more food into our building so we can get more food on the shelves for our clients. We want to get more food in our warehouse so we can get more food throughout Kitsap and Mason County. We're going to communicate with you all a lot more. We're going to expand our service hours. Why are food banks not open in the evenings or weekends? We should be. We are going to start some new fun programs and community events. Looking forward to the Bremerton Turkey Trot in November. And starting a Kitsap County Food Project program. So you all know you're here for a fundraising event, but my personal ask is for you to engage a little more deeply with our mission. And here are some ways that maybe you can do that. I ask that you sign up to be a Kitsap County Food Project Neighborhood Coordinator, or give me a call, shoot me an email to talk about what it looks like to join and be a part of our board, or just pop online and sign up to be a volunteer. We need a lot more help in our building, especially as we expand. So I know you all know what board work looks like, and you know what volunteering at a food bank might look like, but you're probably wondering, all right, Corey, what the heck is the Kitsap County Food Project? It's really simple. It's a really strategic, streamlined, effective food drive program where you sign up to be a neighborhood coordinator. You rally 5 to 10 neighbors to join you. And then once every other month, you'll go to your neighbors, your team, and collect very specific grocery or product items that the food bank requests. It's simple. So this is a win-win-win kind of program. It's pretty simple to do. It's easy for coordinators. It's easy for donors. The food bank gets more food on our shelves in a very strategic way. You, as participants, get to give to the food bank in a very easy way. I make it as simple as possible for you. And 3, we get more food on our shelves for our clients. This program exists throughout the United States, and there are some local programs like Gig Harbor's doing it, Issaquah's doing it, Thurston County's doing it, and this program has the ability to bring in tens of thousands of pounds of food every few months for food banks. So if you imagine going from 10 neighborhood coordinators to 20 neighborhood coordinators to somebody in every neighborhood in Kitsap County, we can really stock the shelves of our food banks. So please consider engaging deeply with us today. On that note, I'd like to introduce our next video where you will get to hear from the clients who do and will benefit from your generosity and from having full shelves. Thank you. Welcome to Bremerton Foodline. Our mission is to provide food and basic essentials to help increase self-sufficiency for our community members.
The Bremerton Foodline is absolutely crucial to helping people get over the challenging times in their lives where household circumstances maybe have put them in a situation where that week-to-week, month-to-month budget is under stress.
Sometimes it's generational poverty, sometimes it's living paycheck to paycheck and having to choose between a medication or an alternate utility bill. Sometimes it's just the market as itself when rent is high and groceries are high, but you're still only making the same amount. How can you bridge that gap?
It's impossible not to need extra help with it, the situation when you're living on Social Security.
Food banks are an essential part of helping people get back on their feet. I mean, you think of basic health, you think of housing, having a roof over your head, and food and nutritious food. In this community, Bremerton Foodline is at the core of that.
For 43 years, the Bremerton Foodline has been an intricate part of this community. From what started in a basement of a church is now an over 11,000 square foot distribution warehouse.
The Bremerton Foodline grocery store incorporates a low-barrier, self-select grocery store model that encourages families to get the food they want and will eat in their homes. Our goal is to look and feel as much like a typical grocery store so shoppers feel welcomed, comfortable, and respected.
At the Bremerton Foodline, we're more than just a grocery store. We're also a redistribution organization. And that means that we bring in millions of pounds of food and redistribute it to our partners throughout Kitsap and Mason County.
When our clients visit the food bank, they're able to get their proteins, their dairies, their fresh fruits and veggies.
I think being at the food bank has allowed us to expand what we eat dietarily at home. We try to eat healthy, but sometimes those things are expensive at the regular store.
We do this to try to support them in having at least 50% of their needs met by us.
The Bremerton Foodline treats their clients with respect and offers dignity for folks in need.
When our clients come into the food bank, we want them to feel welcomed. We want them to be comfortable.
We support not just Foodline, but that range of community services and the network of people Bremerton Foodline works with, because it makes the community better, and there aren't many higher purposes in helping your fellow member of the Kitsap community improve their own lives.
Bremerton Foodline is just so important to our community, and it's one of the reasons my wife Sunny and I for years have supported the Foodline financially.
The Bremerton Foodline bridges the gap for our neighbors in their pursuit of self-sufficiency and dignity with food and basic essentials. Join us in helping make our community a better place for all.
So here's our question to you. How will you partner with us in bridging the gap?
Morning. How are you all doing? Yeah? Have you guys get up and do a little dance like teachers do this morning? Well, thank you for having me. I want to thank Corey for the invite today and your board for the tremendous work that you do for Bremerton every single day. Thank you for that. I was watching the video and I was, you get that feeling of just nostalgia. And you think about your own experiences in life and you think about where you came from and your roots. And sometimes that's easy to forget as you move through life. And there are moments where you come back into that space and you realize after 25 years what it means to you. And I had this whole thing here, and here I am. I often tell groups, I came back after 25 years, 7 months ago to serve as the superintendent of the Bremerton School District. And I grew up on Callow, and my mom worked at Rob's Quick Stop, which still sits there. And I grew up very poor. I'm a product of generational poverty. My grandmother was a coal miner's daughter in Idaho and came over here, and we didn't have a lot. I was in foster care for 4.5 years as a child. And when we moved to Bremerton in 3rd grade, I went to Crown Hill Elementary. The Huskies. It's the only time I'll say go Huskies. Right? But when you look at a video like that, that's what we experienced, you know. I had mold on our walls, and we had to cover our windows with plastic. And, you know, my mom was on the phone at Thanksgiving and Christmas calling food banks to get food. We were down at St. Vincent de Paul asking for vouchers on a consistent basis. And when I grew up, I didn't really know what any of that was. I didn't get it until I got to a place where I could start to sense that there was something different about the way that we lived. When I compared myself to my friends who lived on Marine Drive and Rocky Point. Not that it's a bad thing, but you don't know that you're different. Children are born into circumstances that they have no control over. Absolutely zero control over. They're our most precious asset that we have in our community, and we have to care for them very much. And so as I grew up and I started to learn a little bit about how I was different, I had great shame as a result of that. And we always qualified for free reduced lunch, but I would never take a lunch at school. I never wanted people to know that we were poor, ever. And when I left Bremerton, I was telling some staff at the high school, I had such shame with that space that I never came back. And I thought to myself, someday I'll do that when I feel like I have enough courage to be able to come in. And it wasn't just that space; it was all kinds of other things. But we take for granted this concept of food and the insecurities that sit behind that. And when kids are coming to school and they are behaving in certain ways, that behavior is a symptom to a problem. It is a manifestation of something that greater going on in their world that they don't have any control over, and they don't understand, and they don't have the words to describe it. And so they describe it through their behavior. And if you would have seen me as a kid, I could demolish a room like this in a matter of seconds. And then it would fall on the ground, and I would sleep because I was so tired. I'd used so much energy. It had nothing to do with the people in the room. Absolutely nothing to do with the adults. In fact, those adults were the ones that loved me and cared about me all the way through getting to Bremerton High School and graduating 25 years ago. And I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for those people and for organizations like Bremerton Foodline. They nourished my brain, they nourished my heart when my parents couldn't. And when I was 16 years old and I came home one day and my mom had left, and I lived on my own before moving in with friends, I didn't have any food. But one day I remember walking up to the door and there was a bag of food at the door. I'll never forget it. And I don't know who dropped that food off. There was no note, there was nothing. But it was the best gift that anybody could have ever given me. Because at that point, I was like, I didn't even know how I was going to pay for the heat. And it was the next day that I went in and talked to Dr. G and Mr. Bennett, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? Like, I have no clue. And I had some friends that took me in. But I watched that video, and I'm just, and I'm inspired by the stories that could be prevented, right? And that's the power of community, and that's the power of each of you, right? Because it can be done. It can be done. Absolutely. So I love data too. Thank you, Corey. It's like little speaks to my heart. When I look at our schools in Bremerton, it's important to know that about 61.2% of our kids are identified as low income. And so that means that 6 out of every 10 kids, 6 out of every 10 are coming to school food insecure, which impacts their physical health, their cognitive development. It impacts their academic performance and their social behaviors. And our district has done tremendous work, but we cannot do it by ourselves. Every child in the Bremerton School District eats breakfast and lunch for free now. Every single child. There's no stigma attached to food anymore. You don't have to worry about the free reduced lunch status. Last summer, as part of our summer meals program, we served 13,208 meals over the course of summer to kids across our city. 13,208 meals. We implement backpack programs with various organizations. That's the power right there. Right? But like Corey said, and like the others said, it's becoming harder for us to support that space, and we can't do it alone. Since 2018-19, our food costs in the Bremerton School District have increased 43%. 43%. With no additional revenue from the state, mind you. Zero. And it's not just about the cost of food, it's also about healthy food, just like Corey was saying and just like the videos mentioned. And there's a ton of data. WSU did a study with the Kitsap Public Health in 2019, and they found in Kitsap County, there are 7 times as many convenience stores than supermarkets within a half-mile of Kitsap schools. 7 times as many convenience stores as supermarkets. There are more fast food restaurants and convenience stores, 171 as of 2019, than supermarkets, small groceries, specialty stores, farmers markets. That represents 1.4 times as many unhealthy food options as there are healthy ones. And zip codes with the highest concentration of WIC clients have the smallest number of authorized WIC retailers. So 2 of Bremerton's zip codes, 98312, 98310, represent 33.3% of total WIC clients. Yet we don't have the resources available in our community for that space, for that support. So my challenge is for us to commit to expanding those efforts, like Corey mentioned, and continue discussions about how to best address those needs. The increases in food costs are going to really require us to lean in and to support each other in ways that we haven't done before. And I think you mentioned this very clearly when you go to the grocery store, how much you're spending. Now imagine you have to make a decision about whether or not you want to pay your heat or give food to your children. That's a very difficult tension to manage. And in fact, it's not necessarily a tension, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. So I'm inspired by Maya Angelou, and I love quotes. And she said, "Carry on. It's not easy, but it's what we have to do. Only we do not have to do it alone." And ensuring that our children come to school well-fed, and that they see that their community loves them, and that they care about them, and that they're willing to invest in them. I'm a return on your investment. And I hope that every child in our district gets afforded that same opportunity. And that's what I hope we can do next. So thank you each of you for coming out today. Thank you for supporting kids like me. Thank you for supporting the Bremerton Foodline. We love you very much. You're right around the corner from our high school. And we can't wait to do more with you. Have a great morning.
Good morning. Thank you, James. It's not fair that I get to go after all of that. Like Corey said, tough act to follow. My name is Jamie Callahan. I am the president of the board for the Bremerton Foodline. And I grew up in Bremerton, and I'm raising my 2 kids here with my wonderful husband. You know, when I was a kid, I was taught you're supposed to leave places better than you found them. And if you can do it for people, do that too. All people are valuable, regardless of their economic status or even their attitude. That's a hard one. But this has really grown for a passion for my community. It's helped when I worked as a CNA with dementia patients, and it's helped when I've worked with developmentally disabled adults as well. Because everybody deserves respect, and they deserve an opportunity to thrive. So one day, 8 years ago, a good friend of mine invited me to join the board of the Bremerton Foodline. And if you've ever volunteered on a board, you know that you'll be stretched and grown in ways that you did not know you needed to be stretched and grown. But that's also the beauty of a nonprofit like the Foodline. You can get so much more out of it than just some food. One thing I've especially enjoyed is every single food drive I've ever done for the food bank, my son has come with me. He just recently turned 13, and he's the one that says, you know what, Mom, you be quiet. I'm gonna hand out the wish list. I'm gonna talk to the people, because this is important. He really tells me, be quiet. One time he actually tried to shake my parents down for a cash donation after they had given a full shopping cart. Yeah, that's him. I know, I was like, dude, come on. So the funny thing is that he's an introvert. But you know, he has learned that the food bank and doing things for this community is more important than TV or video games or hanging out with his friends. Because this right here is helping people and making a huge impact. And it could be making an impact for somebody at his school. It could be a kid that one day would stand before an audience like this and talk about where he came from and how he succeeded despite food insecurity. It could be somebody like James. It could be somebody like John, or any of the other people that you've heard from today. So I'm really just thankful that you're all here and that you guys are going to be able to find ways that you can help fill out the gap in our community. Because most weeks in 2023, the Bremerton Foodline struggled to get enough healthy food on our shelves. This has got to change because over 400,000 pounds of food went out, and they went right into fridges and countertops in our community. But the need is really closer to twice that amount. So today, on behalf of the board and on behalf of our staff, we do really want to send out some really good, heartfelt thank yous. We are so incredibly thankful for our platinum sponsors, Virginia Mason, Armco Construction, and HD Fowler. And we want to thank you to our gold and silver sponsors because they have contributed enough that this entire event is covered. That means, yes. Every dollar that's donated today goes directly to program services. We want to thank you for our speakers and our clients who bravely and graciously shared their stories. And we also want to thank the politicians and the community leaders that are here today. We would love for you guys to stand. Come on, we know you're here. Stand up. Lastly, we want to thank our table captains because you guys are the ones that filled this room. When you donate today, you're helping Brian and Teresa get healthier options in their home. And you're ensuring a young man like John who is struggling receives dignity and his stomach gets full. You're providing healthy food and hope to a child like James who needed just a little bit more so that he can really soar. We just hope that you're inspired by our impact and that you have a greater understanding of our need and that you're moved by our vision. A $100 donation would provide 50 meals. A $250 donation, or only $21 a month, would provide over 150 meals. And a $500 donation, or only $42 a month, will provide over 1,000 meals. But before we ask our table captains to hand out their donation envelopes, we want to thank our angel donors. They have committed to matching every dollar, over $100 donated or pledged, up to a total of $11,000. So if you donate $150, your match really becomes $200. $200 would equal $300. $1,000 would be $1,900. I know it's early. I hope you guys had your coffee, but you guys get the idea. So we hope you're moved to contribute a personally meaningful gift today and that you lean on our angel donors just to stretch that donation a little bit further. Okay, it's almost time for the table captains to distribute the envelopes, but I wanted to let you know there's QR codes on your donation letter. You could also leave a check in your envelope. And then you can also check a box to learn more about becoming a food project neighborhood coordinator, a volunteer, or even a board member. So when you're done with your donation letter, please return your envelope to your table captain. Table captains, go ahead and hand out those envelopes, please.
Yeah, Bremerton Foodline. I mean, it's a great organization. I look forward to supporting, the food deserts and other things here in the community.
What brings you to an event like this?
I'm on the board.
You're on the board?
Yep. He was on the board 8 years ago, and so I've been on the board for 16 years. Well, I was homeless for 3 years in Bremerton, Washington, and I wrote a book called Breakfast at Sally's during that time period. So during that time period, the 3 years I was living in my car, I would go to the food bank and get food. That was my story. That was my start. And so I did that for 3 years until I finally got off the street.
A way to spend a morning with some great people doing what we can to raise money for our community. So it's all about community and giving back.
Very much so. Wonderful people that work within the organization, I have to say. Draw on the community and with great people like us just trying to really come together to support all the efforts that they've championed.